The old general stood at the window of his ship and watched the stars pass by. Park Do-yun was 127 years old. His hair was white like snow. His face was full of lines and wrinkles. But his eyes were still sharp. They were the eyes of a man who had seen war. They were the eyes of a man who had ended one. 900 years ago, humanity had fought a terrible war against an alien race called the Corvani. The war had lasted for 50 years. Billions had died on both sides. In the end, humanity had won. But the victory had come at a terrible cost. The Corvani no longer existed. Humanity had destroyed them completely. The galaxy had watched in horror. They had never seen such brutality. They had never seen such determination. When the war ended, the great powers of the galaxy came together and created the Treaty of Eternal Stars. Humanity would join the Galactic Empire. They would put away their weapons. They would live in peace. And in return, the galaxy would never threaten them again. Park Do-hyun had been a young commander in those final days of war. He had seen things that still haunted his dreams. He had done things that he could never forget. When the treaty was signed, he had made a promise to himself. He would spend the rest of his life making sure that humanity never had to fight again. For 900 years, he had kept that promise. Now he was traveling to the imperial capital for a diplomatic summit. The emperor himself had invited him. It was supposed to be a celebration of peace, a reminder of how far they had all come. His granddaughter stood beside him. Lieutenant Park Yuna was 32 years old. She had never known war. She had grown up in a time of peace. But she carried herself like a soldier. She had her grandfather's eyes. "You seem troubled," she said. Do-hyun did not turn from the window. "I have a bad feeling about this trip." "You always have bad feelings," Yuna said with a small smile. "That is why you have lived so long." The old general laughed softly. "Perhaps you are right." Commander Kang Minho entered the room. He was Do-hyun's aide. He had served the general for 40 years. His face was serious. "We will arrive at the imperial capital in 2 hours," he said. "The emperor's guards will meet us at the docking station." Do-hyun nodded. "Very well. Tell the crew to prepare for arrival." Minho hesitated. "Sir, I must tell you something. Our intelligence network has picked up strange communications from the imperial palace. Something does not feel right." "I know," Do-hyun said quietly. "I have felt it too, but we must go. If we refuse, it will look like humanity is afraid. We cannot show fear. Not now. Not ever." The imperial capital was a massive space station that floated in the center of the galaxy. It was home to millions of aliens from hundreds of different species. The emperor ruled over all of them from his golden throne. When Do-hyun's ship docked, a large group of imperial guards was waiting. They wore black armor and carried energy weapons. Their leader was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. His name was Admiral Vornak. "General Park," Vornak said with a bow, "the Emperor welcomes you. Please follow me to the palace." Do-hyun walked slowly. His old legs hurt with every step, but he kept his back straight. He would not show weakness. The palace was beautiful. The walls were made of crystal. The floors were covered in gold. Thousands of aliens filled the halls. They whispered to each other as Do-hyun passed. Some looked at him with curiosity. Others looked at him with fear. Emperor Veltos III sat on his throne at the end of the great hall. He was a massive creature with scales like a snake and eyes like fire. He was over 3,000 years old. He had ruled the galaxy for most of that time. "General Park," the emperor said. His voice was deep and cold. "At last we meet. I have heard many stories about you." Do-hyun bowed his head slightly. "Your Majesty, thank you for inviting me." "The treaty has lasted for 900 years, the emperor said. "Because of men like you. Humanity has been a loyal member of our empire," You have earned our respect." The words sounded kind, but Do-yun heard something else in them, something dark, something dangerous. That night, there was a great banquet. Hundreds of important aliens gathered to celebrate the anniversary of the peace treaty. Food and drinks from 1,000 worlds filled the tables. Music played. People laughed and talked. Do-hyun sat at the emperor's table. Yuna sat beside him. Minho stood behind them, watching everything. A servant brought a special drink for Do-hyun. It was a rare wine from a distant planet. The emperor himself had chosen it. "A gift for the great general," the emperor said. "Please drink." Do-hyun looked at the wine. It was beautiful. It glowed with a soft purple light. He lifted the glass and drank. The poison worked quickly. Pain shot through Do-hyun's body. He dropped the glass. It shattered on the floor. He grabbed his chest and fell from his chair. Yuna screamed. She caught her grandfather before he hit the ground. "Grandfather! What is happening? Help him! Someone help him!" The aliens in the hall did not move. They just watched. Some of them smiled. Minho pulled out his weapon, but Imperial guards surrounded him immediately. There were too many. He could not fight them all. Do-hyun looked up at his granddaughter. His face was pale. His breath was weak, but his eyes were still clear. "Listen to me," he whispered. "Wake the sleepers. Remind them why we signed that treaty." "Grandfather, no. Stay with me. Please stay with me." "I am not afraid of death," Do-hyun said. "I am only sad that I will not see what comes next." "Make them proud, Yuna. Make humanity proud." His eyes closed. His body went still. General Park Do-hyun, the last hero of the human Corvani War, was dead. The emperor stood from his throne. "How unfortunate," he said. His voice showed no sadness. "It seems the general had a weak heart. Old age is a terrible thing." Yuna looked up at the emperor. Tears ran down her face, but her eyes were not sad. They were burning with rage. "You did this," she said. "You killed him." "Careful, human," the emperor said. "Accusations without proof are dangerous. Take the body and leave. The summit is over." Imperial guards grabbed Yuna and Minho. They dragged them back to their ship. The body of General Do-hyun was thrown at their feet like garbage. News of the general's death spread quickly. Across human space, people mourned. They cried. They held ceremonies in his honor. The Empire declared that his death was an accident, a sad but natural end for an old man. But humans knew the truth. They felt it in their hearts. Their greatest hero had been murdered. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in a bunker that had been sealed for 900 years, something stirred. Computers that had been sleeping suddenly came alive. Screens flickered. Lights turned on. A red warning light began to blink. The sleepers were waking up, and the galaxy would soon remember why it had feared humanity in the first place. Admiral Choi Sun-ho was planting tomatoes when the message arrived. He was 78 years old. He had retired from the military 30 years ago. Now he lived on a quiet farming colony on the edge of human space. He grew vegetables. He watched the sunset every evening. He had thought his fighting days were over. His communication device beeped. It was an old device, military grade. He had kept it all these years, even though he never expected to use it again. The message was encrypted with codes that only a handful of people in the galaxy knew. Codes that had been passed down from generation to generation. Codes that meant only one thing. War was coming. He opened the message. A young woman's face appeared on the screen. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. "Admiral Choi, my name is Park Yuna. My grandfather was General Park Do-hyun. He is dead. The Empire killed him. His last words were for me to wake the sleepers. I am sending you this message because your name was in his secret files. Please help me. Humanity needs you." Sun-ho sat down heavily. His hands were shaking. He had known Do-hyun. They had served together long ago, before the peace, before everything changed. He looked at his tomato plants. He looked at his small house. He looked at the peaceful sky. Then he stood up and walked inside. He had work to do. Within hours, Sunho had contacted 12 other retired military officers across human space. They were old men and women. They had families. They had grandchildren. But they all remembered their training. They all remembered their duty. "Protocol Prometheus," Sunho said during their secret meeting. "It is time." The others nodded. No one argued. No one hesitated. Protocol Prometheus was a plan that had been created 900 years ago, right after the peace treaty was signed. The leaders of that time knew that peace might not last forever. They knew that one day, humanity might need to fight again. So they prepared. They hid weapons. They hid ships. They hid entire fleets in places no one would ever look. Asteroid fields, frozen moons, deep inside gas giants. They created artificial intelligences to maintain these hidden forces, and they passed down the knowledge of these hiding places to trusted people in each generation. The galaxy thought humanity had given up its weapons. The galaxy was wrong. Sunho sent out the activation codes. Across human space, the sleepers began to wake. On a frozen moon near Saturn, the ice cracked. A massive door opened beneath the surface. Ships rose from the darkness, hundreds of them. Their engines roared to life for the first time in 9 centuries. In an asteroid field beyond the Oort cloud, rocks shifted and moved. They were not rocks at all. They were warships, covered in stone and ice to hide them from sensors. Now they shed their disguises and formed into battle groups. Inside the atmosphere of a gas giant called Haven, where no one would ever think to look, an entire fleet activated. These were the largest ships, the most powerful, the ones that had been built to end wars. The artificial intelligences that had guarded these ships sent their reports to Admiral Choi. Everything was operational. Everything was ready. Dr. Bayek Nari was giving a lecture at the University of New Seoul when soldiers came to her classroom. She was 45 years old. She was one of the smartest weapons scientists in human space. But she had not built weapons in 20 years. She had chosen to teach instead. "Dr. Beck," the lead soldier said, "you need to come with us. Admiral Choi has requested your presence." Nari looked at her students. They looked confused and scared. "Class dismissed," she said. "Study Chapter 12. There will be a test next week." She knew there would be no test next week. She knew everything was about to change. They took her to a secret facility beneath the city. Inside, she found equipment she had not seen in decades, weapons blueprints, research data, things that were supposed to have been destroyed after the treaty. Admiral Choi was waiting for her. "The Empire killed General Do-hyun," he said. "We are going to war." Nari felt her heart beat faster. Part of her was afraid. Another part of her, a part she had tried to forget, was excited. "You want me to reactivate the forbidden programs," she said. "Yes. Those weapons were banned for a reason. They are too terrible, too destructive." Sunho looked at her with tired eyes. "I know, but the Empire murdered our greatest hero at a peace summit. They think we are weak. They think we have forgotten how to fight. We need to remind them." Nari was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Show me to the laboratory." On the other side of human space, a young pilot named Yoon Tae-ho was drinking with his friends when his orders came. He was 26 years old. He had never fought in a real battle. He had spent his whole life in peace, flying patrol ships and escort missions. His commanding officer called him to headquarters. "Captain Yoon, you are being transferred to special duty. You will report to the flagship Unity tomorrow morning." "Why me, sir?" "Because you scored highest in combat simulations in the entire fleet. The Admiral wants the best pilots, and you are the best." Tae-ho felt a mixture of pride and fear. He had always wanted to prove himself. He had always felt like he was born in the wrong time, a warrior in an age of peace. Now, war was coming, and he would finally have his chance. The Empire did not take the human mobilization seriously at first. Their intelligence reports showed that humanity had only a few hundred ships. The Empire had over 10,000. The numbers were not even close. "Let them throw their tantrum," Admiral Vornak said to the Emperor. "When they see our fleet, they will surrender. They are farmers now, merchants, teachers. They have forgotten how to fight." Emperor Veltos smiled. He had planned this for a long time. He had discovered the sleeper fleets years ago. That was why he had ordered the general killed. He wanted to start a war on his own terms. A war that would end with humanity enslaved forever. What he did not know was how many ships the sleepers actually had. What he did not know was what weapons humanity had hidden. What he did not know was how wrong he was about everything. Yuna stood before the Galactic Council. It was a gathering of ambassadors from every major species in the galaxy. They had come to hear humanity's response to the general's death. She was wearing her military uniform. Her grandfather's medals were pinned to her chest. She looked small compared to some of the massive aliens in the room, but her voice filled the hall. "My grandfather served this galaxy for 900 years. He believed in peace. He believed that humans and aliens could live together in harmony. He dedicated his life to that dream." She paused. The hall was silent, and the Empire murdered him for it. Shouts and gasps filled the room. The Imperial ambassador tried to protest, but Yuna continued. "We have proof. We have recordings. We have witnesses. The Emperor ordered the assassination of General Park Do-hyun because he was afraid. He was afraid of what humanity might become, so he tried to kill our spirit by killing our hero." She looked directly at the Imperial ambassador. "But he failed." The ambassador sneered. "What can you do, human? Your fleet is nothing compared to ours. You are insects. You are—" "The Treaty of Eternal Stars died with my grandfather," Yuna said, cutting him off. "What comes next, you brought upon yourselves." She turned and walked out of the hall. Behind her, the ambassadors exploded into arguments and accusations, but Yuna did not look back. Outside, Minho was waiting for her. "The fleets are ready," he said. "Admiral Choi is waiting for your orders." Yuna looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, her grandfather's body was being prepared for burial. Somewhere out there, thousands of human ships were preparing for war. "Tell the Admiral to begin," she said. "It is time for the galaxy to remember who we are." The old Morvathi ambassador sat in his quarters and watched the news feeds. His name was Elder Kethrin. He was over 2,000 years old. He had been alive during the Human-Corvani War. He remembered everything. His assistant, a young Morvathi named Tellin, entered the room. "Elder, our government has ordered us to leave Imperial space immediately. All Morvathi citizens are being evacuated." Kethrin nodded slowly. "The other ancient races are doing the same, are they not?" "Yes, Elder. The Silken have already gone. The Dravosi are leaving tonight. Even the Vorthani are pulling their people out." "Good," Kethrin said. They remember. They remember what happened the last time someone pushed humanity too far." Tellin looked confused. He was young. He had only read about the war in history books. To him, it was ancient history, something that happened long ago to other people. "Elder, I do not understand. The humans are peaceful now. They are farmers, artists, teachers. Why is everyone so afraid?" Kethrin turned to look at his assistant. His old eyes were filled with memories. Terrible memories. "Sit down, young one. Let me tell you a story." Tellin sat. 900 years ago, the Corvani were one of the most powerful races in the galaxy. They had thousands of ships, Millions of soldiers. They had conquered dozens of species. They thought they were unstoppable. Catherine paused. His voice grew quiet. Then they found Earth. They found humanity. The humans were young. They had only just discovered space travel. The Corvani thought they would be easy to conquer. They attacked without warning. They destroyed human cities. They killed millions of innocent people. I know this part, Talon said. The humans fought back. You know nothing, Catherine said sharply. The history books do not tell the truth. They cannot. The truth is too terrible. He stood and walked to the window. The humans did not just fight back. They changed. Something inside them broke. Or perhaps something woke up, something ancient, something dark. What do you mean? They developed weapons that we had never seen before, weapons that attacked the mind, weapons that made soldiers kill their own families, weapons that turned entire planets into tombs. They did not fight to win, they fought to destroy, completely, utterly, forever. Talon felt cold. The Corvani are gone, Catherine said. Not defeated, not conquered, gone. Every ship, every colony, every man, woman, and child. The humans did not leave a single one alive. They erased them from existence. And do you know what was most terrifying? What? They were crying while they did it. They hated what they had become, but they did it anyway. Because that is what humans do when you threaten their survival. They become monsters. Willing monsters. And that is the most dangerous kind. Talon was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. And now the Empire has killed their hero. Yes, Catherine said, and the galaxy will burn because of it. Fleet Commander Seo Hajun led the first human strike force into Imperial territory. But they did not attack military targets. They went to the human colonies that were under Imperial protection. These colonies had been established centuries ago on planets given to humanity by the Empire, but over time the Empire had placed more and more restrictions on them. Imperial soldiers patrolled their streets. Imperial taxes took most of their earnings. They were not colonies anymore. They were prisons. Hajun's fleet arrived at the planet called New Hope. It was home to 3 million humans. Imperial warships guarded it. The Imperial commander sent a message. Human fleet, you are in violation of Imperial law. Turn back or we will destroy you. Hajun smiled. I have a better idea. You have 1 hour to leave this system. After that, we will remove you ourselves. The Imperial commander laughed. He had 20 ships. The humans had only 8. The math was simple. You are bluffing, he said. You do not have the firepower to... Hajun pressed a button. One of his ships fired a single shot. It was a weapon the Empire had never seen before. The beam of light hit an Imperial destroyer. The ship did not explode. It simply stopped existing. One moment it was there. The next moment it was gone. Not even dust remained. The Imperial commander stared at his screen. His face was pale. You now have 59 minutes, Hajun said. I suggest you start moving. The Imperial fleet ran. They ran as fast as their ships could carry them. And on New Hope, 3 million humans looked up at the sky and cried with joy. Intelligence Officer Han Minji was the best spy in human service. She had spent 20 years working undercover in alien societies. She spoke 47 languages. She had stolen secrets from the most secure facilities in the galaxy. Now she had the most important mission of her life. She had infiltrated the Imperial Palace itself. She had taken the identity of a servant. For weeks, she had listened and watched and gathered information. What she discovered made her blood run cold. The Emperor had not killed General Do Hyun because he was afraid of a human uprising. He had killed him because he was planning to enslave humanity. Minji found the documents in a secret vault, plans for a massive invasion, plans to destroy the sleeper fleets before they could wake, plans to round up all humans and put them in work camps, plans to breed them like animals for labor. The assassination of General Do-hyun was supposed to be the beginning. The Empire had expected humanity to mourn and accept their loss. They had expected humans to stay weak and peaceful. They had expected to have plenty of time to prepare their invasion. They had been wrong. Minji escaped from the palace with copies of all the documents. She sent them to Admiral Choi. She sent them to every news network in the galaxy. She sent them to every alien government that would listen. Within hours, the truth was everywhere. The Emperor had not just murdered a hero, he had been planning genocide. Admiral Choi stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Vigil. Around him, thousands of human ships waited for his orders. Behind him, the planet Earth turned slowly in space, the birthplace of humanity. The world they had almost lost 900 years ago. He recorded a message and broadcast it to every corner of the galaxy. To all who can hear this message, my name is Admiral Choi Sun-ho of the Human Defense Force. For 900 years we kept the peace. We built homes on distant worlds. We raised our children under alien stars. We taught them to be kind, to be gentle, to see the beauty in all living things. He paused. His voice grew harder. We did this not because we were weak. We did this because we remembered what we could become. We remembered the war. We remembered the blood. We remembered the screams of our enemies as we destroyed them. And we swore that we would never become those monsters again. His hands clenched into fists. But you did not understand. You saw our kindness and thought we were sheep. You saw our peace and thought we were broken. You killed our hero and thought we would kneel. He looked directly into the camera. You were wrong. You mistook our kindness for weakness. You will not make that mistake again. We are humanity. We are the species that destroyed the Corvani. We are the species that made the galaxy beg for peace. And now, because of your arrogance, because of your cruelty, because of your blindness, we are going to remind you why. He ended the transmission. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched his words. Some felt hope, some felt fear, some felt both. The war had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Battle of Three Suns was the largest space battle in the history of the galaxy. It took place in the Trivara system, where three massive stars orbited each other in an endless dance. The light from these stars made the space around them glow with colors that no artist could capture. It was here that the fate of the galaxy would be decided. The Imperial Armada arrived first. 15,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled. Admiral Vornak commanded them from his flagship, the Divine Wrath. He was confident. He had the numbers. He had the firepower. He had the blessing of the Emperor himself. Today, we crush the human rebellion, he announced to his fleet. Today, we show the galaxy that no one defies the Empire. Today, we make humanity kneel. His soldiers cheered. They believed him. They thought this would be an easy victory. Then the human fleet arrived. 3,000 ships emerged from hyperspace. They were fewer in number, but something about them was different. These ships did not look like the trading vessels and patrol craft that the Empire was used to seeing. These ships looked like weapons, pure and simple, machines built for one purpose only: to destroy. Admiral Choi stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil. Beside him stood Yuna, now wearing the rank of fleet commander. Her grandfather's flag flew from the ship's mast. She had insisted on it. "All ships report ready," Commander Kang Minho announced. "Weapons charged, shields at full power." "Dr. Beck," Choi said into his communicator, "are the special weapons online?" Dr. Baknari's voice came back. "All systems are operational. Prometheus Fire is ready. The Stellar Lances are ready. The Ghost ships are ready. Everything we hid for 900 years is now awake. Choi nodded. Then let us begin. The two fleets charged at each other, thousands of weapons fired at once. The space between the three suns filled with light and fire and death. In the first 5 minutes, both sides lost hundreds of ships. The fighting was fierce. The Empire had numbers. Humanity had fury. Neither side was willing to retreat. Then Admiral Choi gave the order to deploy the forbidden weapons. The first was the Stellar Lance. It was a weapon that used the power of stars themselves. A human ship positioned itself near one of the three suns. It fired a beam of energy into the star's surface. The star responded. It shot out a massive column of fire that stretched across space and smashed into the Imperial fleet. 2,000 Imperial ships disappeared in an instant, burned to atoms by the fury of a star. Admiral Vornak stared at his tactical display in disbelief. He had never seen anything like it. He had never imagined anything like it. "What was that?" he screamed. "What did they do?" No one could answer him. The second weapon was even more terrifying. The ghost ships. They were vessels that existed partially in another dimension. They could be seen but not touched. Weapons passed right through them, but their weapons could hit everything. The ghost ships flew directly into the heart of the Imperial formation. They fired in all directions. Imperial ships exploded all around them. But when the Empire fired back, their shots hit nothing. It was like fighting shadows. Captain Yun Tai-ho flew one of the ghost ships. His heart was pounding, his hands were sweating, but he had never felt more alive. "This is Eagle Leader," he said to his squadron. "Follow me. We are going for the flagship." His squadron dove through the chaos of battle. Imperial ships tried to stop them. They failed. Nothing could stop a ghost ship. Tai-ho saw the divine wrath ahead. It was massive. The largest ship in the Imperial fleet. He flew directly at it. "Fire everything!" he shouted. His ship unleashed all its weapons at the same time. Missiles and beams and bombs all hit the Imperial flagship. The shields collapsed. The armor cracked. Explosions ripped through the hull. Admiral Vornak felt his ship shaking around him. Alarms were screaming. His officers were running in panic. "All ships, retreat!" he ordered. "Fall back! Fall back!" But it was too late for retreat. Dr. Bayeknari deployed the final weapon, Prometheus Fire. It was a swarm of self-replicating nanobots, microscopic machines that could eat through any material. Once released, they spread from ship to ship, consuming everything in their path. The swarm hit the Imperial fleet like a plague. Ships began to dissolve. Metal turned to dust. Soldiers screamed as their vessels fell apart around them. In 6 hours, the Battle of Three Suns was over. The Imperial Armada had arrived with 15,000 ships. Fewer than 3,000 escaped. 12,000 warships destroyed. Millions of Imperial soldiers dead. The human fleet had lost 500 ships, a terrible price. But compared to what they had done to the enemy, it was nothing. Admiral Vornak was captured alive. His flagship was crippled but not destroyed. Human Marines boarded it and dragged him from his command chair. "This is not possible," he kept saying. "This is not possible." No one bothered to argue with him. Emperor Velthos III received the news on his throne. His advisors stood around him in terrified silence. The most powerful military in the history of the galaxy had been crushed in a single day. "How?" the Emperor whispered. "How did this happen?" "They were not what we thought they were," one advisor said. "They were never what we thought they were." The Emperor stood. "Prepare my escape ship. We are leaving the capital." But he was too slow. Yuna's fleet arrived at the Imperial capital 3 days later. The station's defenses tried to fight. They lasted less than an hour. Human Marines stormed the palace. They killed anyone who resisted. They captured anyone who surrendered. Yuna walked through the halls that she had last seen on the night of her grandfather's murder. She was wearing combat armor now. Her face was hard. Her eyes were cold. She found the emperor hiding in his throne room. His guards were dead. His advisors had fled. He was alone. "Please," he begged. "Please spare me. I will give you anything, anything you want." Yuna looked down at him. This creature that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. This monster that had killed her grandfather and planned to enslave her people. He was shaking. He was crying. He was pathetic. "My grandfather spent 900 years teaching humanity to be gentle," she said. "He believed in peace. He believed in forgiveness. He believed that all species could learn to live together." She grabbed the emperor by his collar and pulled him up to face her. "You killed the only man who could have stopped what comes next." "What are you going to do to me?" the emperor whimpered. Yuna thought about it. She thought about all the ways she could make him suffer. She thought about the revenge she could take. She thought about the justice her grandfather deserved. Then she thought about what her grandfather would have wanted. "I am going to let you live," she said, "but not because you deserve mercy, because I refuse to become the monster you tried to create." She threw him to the ground. "Take him away. The war is over. Now we must decide what comes next." Commander Minho watched as soldiers dragged the emperor away. He walked to Yuna's side. "You did the right thing," he said. "Your grandfather would be proud." Yuna did not answer. She was looking out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of people were waiting to see what humanity would do with its victory. She hoped they would choose wisely. She hoped they would choose peace. But she also knew that peace was harder than war. It always had been. The battle was won. But the real work was just beginning. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Three Suns. The galaxy was a different place now. The old order was gone. Something new was being built in its place. Admiral Choi Sun-ho stood before the new Galactic Assembly. It was a gathering of representatives from every major species in known space. Humans, Morvathi, Silken, Dravosi, and hundreds of others. They had come together to hear humanity's proposal for the future. Many of them were afraid. They had seen what humanity could do. They had watched the Imperial fleet burn. They expected revenge. They expected humanity to become the new masters of the galaxy. They expected chains and slavery and death. They were wrong. "We stand at a crossroads," Sun-ho said. His voice was calm. His face was tired but kind. "The Empire is gone. The old order has fallen. What comes next is up to all of us." He paused and looked around the room. "Many of you expect us to take power, to become the new rulers, to do to you what the Empire did to us and so many others." He shook his head. "That is not who we are. That is not who we want to be." He pulled out a document and held it up for all to see. "This is the Covenant of Ashes, a new agreement. Not between rulers and subjects, but between equals. Every species, every world, every person will have the same rights, the same protections, the same voice." The assembly murmured. Some could not believe what they were hearing. "We will destroy the weapons of war," Sun-ho continued. "Not just ours, but everyone's. We will build a peacekeeping force made up of soldiers from every species. We will settle disputes through dialogue, not violence. We will help each other grow, not compete for dominance." An old silken ambassador raised his hand. His voice was full of doubt. "Why would you do this? You have the power. You could rule us all. Why give that up?" Sun-ho smiled sadly. "Because we remember what we did to the Corvani. We remember what we became when we let hatred and fear control us. That victory cost us something precious. It cost us part of our soul." He looked at the ambassador directly. "We won the war, but we do not want to become the monsters we had to be to win it. We want to be the people we were before, the people who dream of stars, the people who reach out in friendship, the people our children can be proud of." The assembly was silent. Then slowly the applause began. It started small, a few hands clapping, then more. and more, until the entire hall was filled with the sound. The covenant of ashes was accepted. The new age had begun. Emperor Velthos III was not executed. He was not tortured. He was not even imprisoned in a dark cell. Instead, he was sent to a small, barren moon at the edge of known space. There was a house there, simple but comfortable. He had food, water, and shelter. He could live out the rest of his long life in peace. But he was forced to watch. Every day, news feeds showed him what was happening in the galaxy. He saw humans helping to rebuild worlds that the Empire had damaged. He saw human doctors treating sick aliens. He saw human teachers opening schools on planets that had never had education before. He saw the galaxy thriving in ways it never had under his rule. That was his punishment. Not death, not pain, but having to watch everything he believed fall apart. Having to see that the creatures he had thought were beneath him were capable of more goodness than he had ever imagined. It was worse than any prison, worse than any torture. Captain Yun Taiho had become famous, the hero of the Battle of Three Suns, the pilot who had destroyed the Imperial flagship. There were statues of him on a dozen worlds. He hated it. "I do not want to be a hero," he told Admiral Choi. "I just want to fly." Choi smiled. "Good, because I have a job for you." He was made the commander of the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force. His job was not to fight wars, but to prevent them. He trained pilots from every species, humans and aliens, learning to work together, learning to trust each other, learning that they were not so different after all. Taiho found that he was good at it, better than he had ever been at war. There was something wonderful about teaching young beings to be brave without being violent, to be strong without being cruel. He still flew his ship sometimes. But now when he looked at the stars, he did not see targets. He saw possibilities. Dr. Baknari returned to her laboratory, but not to build weapons. She had a new project now. Dismantling the forbidden arsenal that humanity had hidden for 9 centuries. It was delicate work, dangerous work. The weapons were designed to destroy. Taking them apart safely was much harder than building them had been. But she did it. Day by day, weapon by weapon, the stellar lances were deactivated. The ghost ship technology was sealed away. The Prometheus fire nanobots were neutralized. When the last weapon was destroyed, she held a small ceremony. Just her and a few assistants. They burned the blueprints in a fire and watched them turn to ash. "Is it really gone?" one assistant asked. "All of it?" Nari hesitated. In a hidden vault beneath her home, she had kept copies of everything, just in case. Just in case humanity ever needed to defend itself again. "Yes," she said. "It is gone." She hoped she was lying. She hoped no one would ever need those weapons again, but she was a scientist. She believed in being prepared. Commander Kang Minho had grown old. His hair was completely white now. His hands shook when he wrote, but his mind was still sharp. He had spent the past year working on a book, the true history of the war, not the propaganda version, not the heroic legend, the truth. He called it Why They Should Have Let Him Live. It told the story of General Park Do-hyun, not just the legend, but the man, his fears, his hopes, his mistakes, his wisdom. It told the story of how one man had held humanity together through centuries of peace, and how his death had almost destroyed everything he had built. The book became required reading in schools across the galaxy. Aliens and humans alike read it. They learned about the war. They learned about the peace. They learned about the price of both. Minho died 2 years after the book was published. He died peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by people who loved him. His last words were, "Tell them the truth. Always tell them the truth." Yuna was offered the position of first human chancellor. She would have been the leader of all humanity, the most powerful human in the galaxy. She said no. "I have done enough," she told the council. I fought the war. I captured the Emperor. I helped build the peace. Now it is time for others to lead. She returned to Earth, to a small city on the coast of what had once been called Korea. It was the place where her grandfather had been born, over a century ago. She buried his ashes on a cliff overlooking the sea. The sunset painted the water gold and red. Birds flew overhead. The wind carried the smell of salt and flowers. She placed his medals on the gravestone, the awards he had earned in war, the honors he had received in peace. They glinted in the fading light. "I did what you asked," she said quietly. "I woke the sleepers. I reminded them why we signed the treaty. And then I built a new peace, better than the one before. One that might actually last." She was silent for a moment. "I miss you, grandfather. I miss your wisdom. I miss your kindness. I miss the way you always knew the right thing to say." A tear rolled down her cheek. "The peace you built lasted 900 years. The peace I build will last forever. Not because they love us, but because they finally understand us." She touched the gravestone gently. "We are not kind because we are weak. We are kind because we know what we become when kindness fails." She walked away as the sun set over a world that had almost forgotten what war meant, a world that was now learning, slowly and painfully, what peace truly required. On a distant planet, a young alien child walked with his mother through a human hospital. The doctors there were treating his illness. They were kind. They were gentle. They asked for nothing in return. "Mother," the child asked, "why are the humans so respected? And why are they so feared?" His mother thought about the question for a long time. "Because they could have destroyed us all," she finally answered, "and they chose not to." The child did not fully understand, but someday he would. Someday, when he was older and had learned the history of the galaxy, he would understand exactly what humanity had sacrificed, and exactly what they had given instead. That was the true victory. Not the battle, not the war, but the choice to be better. The choice to build instead of destroy. The choice to heal instead of hurt. Humanity had proven something that the galaxy had never believed possible. That the strongest species was not the one with the most weapons. It was the one with the most mercy. And in the end, that was enough.